What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast and the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein, and I got Dennis Clausen over here. What's going on, Dennis?
How are you? So I was listening the other day to, I think it was Atlantic Files episode 53.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to know what you sound like before you hit puberty, they need to check that out.
I mean, that was when I think I was either a freshman or sophomore in college, I believe.
Oh, I thought you were going to say high school. You had to have been 12.
No, I was actually in college, and I had this this rinky-dink apartment that was like, I mean, we even spent like maybe $300 each for rent, and there was 3 of us in this apartment, so you could tell it's not that great of one.
There was probably a lot of stiff socks around that place.
Plenty of like asbestos and everything on top of it.
Oh yeah, surprised you made it out of that.
Actually, the funny thing is, the summer right after we moved out of that apartment, there was a big storm, and the apartment was on the top floor. The roof collapsed right into what used to have been my room.
I mean, good thing you probably didn't have many women over back then.
I didn't have much of anything.
I'm sure you did all right in college on that end, right?
I mean, I did all right, but I mean, I was still mainly just. I was sitting in my apartment, hosting podcasts, playing video games, and playing volleyball. So it wasn't like.
Okay, so nothing has changed except for the fact that you're getting married and you own a home.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, you caught me on that one.
I mean, I hate to brag, but I did all right.
I mean, I could see it.
Nah, I totally made that up. I was horrible.
Oh wait, we have a guest here. It looks like he did make it on the stream.
What's going on? I was a little behind schedule. I didn't think I'd be able to make it, but just like Kevin Durant returning to the Nets, I've returned to the podcast.
Oh God.
This is the best we're gonna do because I can't set up my laptop, so we're gonna have to go off the phone. But it's okay.
All right.
Can you guys hear me all clearly?
No, but that's okay.
You can't hear me clearly?
I mean, I can hear you clearly, but it's
Yeah, the quality's okay, but we can hear you. AirPod quality is like, it's decent, but like.
Let's see if I plug in a second AirPod. Double the AirPod.
But Dennis, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say
still sounds the same.
Yeah, so you know what I do. I was going to say I have to apologize to all the listeners. I am fighting a rather severe sinus infection.
Okay.
So I sound even more nasally than I usually do.
I was going to say it sounded a little nasally.
I did take a COVID test. I was negative, so there's no protocols in my future.
Damn it.
There you go. That's what we like to hear. No street clothes.
Yeah, if I'm in a street clothes over something, I want it to be something good, like a toe contusion.
All right, hold on. So this guy I used to work with, very old school when it comes to sports, calls me up the other day. He's a Yankee fan. He goes, Mike. He goes, have you heard of a guy by the name of Henry Louis Gehrig?
Oh,
I said,
God.
yes, of course. He goes, this man played the final 2 seasons of his career with a disease that would kill him at age 37. goes, DJ LeMahieu has been out a week with right big toe inflammation.
He's got a point.
I mean, it's true. It not much you can compare between the injuries of before to the injuries of now. I mean, you can always compare like Kobe and Allen Iverson, how many injuries they played through compared to like LeBron getting a sore knee and having to sit out 2 games.
Dude, Kobe tore his Achilles and he still shot his free throw, still made his free throw shots, and still wanted to play.
And still walked back to the locker room on his own.
Yeah.
Like,
and happy birthday to Kobe. That he had would have been 44 years young, gone way too soon. One of the best players ever.
He was overrated, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't agree with that.
He was a bit overrated.
In what context, Mike?
He was never the best player in the league at any point in his career.
How so?
What?
When he came into the league, Jordan, and Jordan retired, and then Tim Duncan was Shaq, and then Tim Duncan, and then LeBron, and then KD/Giannis.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Why don't you agree with that?
Because I don't agree with it.
Especially LeBron's first few seasons, I don't consider LeBron as the best player
was better. Tim Duncan was better than Kobe at that point.
In 2007, 2008?
By that time, LeBron was better than Kobe.
I mean,
LeBron
everybody
just
says...
got in the league by then.
No, he was in his 4th year. He took his team to the finals.
Kobe won the finals.
Yeah, in his 11th year with Pau Gasol.
Yeah, but Kobe led the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, look at those. LeBron had Mo Williamson, a dude that was sleeping with his mother.
What were you going to say, Dennis?
He had Zydrunas Ilgauskas, damn it.
and Drew Gooden.
Anderson Varejao.
Boobie Gibson.
Was Larry Sanders on one of his teams?
He was on the Bucks.
No, I know he was on the Bucks, but you're acting like he didn't play for any other teams but the fucking Bucks, for crying out loud. You're acting like he was.
He did play for the Cavs at one point.
No way.
Yes, so I'm not completely.
Yeah,
Eat shit.
Look it up. The first picture I see him in is a Cavs jersey.
No. You're pulling my.
He played for Cleveland in 2016, 2017.
Okay, yeah. At the end of his career, he played 5 games. 5 games.
He was 28 years old.
Average point.
Did he just? Didn't he just?
Time out. He played 12 minutes for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, but what other team he played? How many years did he play for the Bucks?
5.
Okay, so you're acting like he played 14 long tenured seasons with the Bucks. He played 5 fucking seasons.
He played 4,635 minutes.
Am I allowed to?
In the league, he played 13 of those minutes with the Cavs.
Am I allowed to ask if OJ Mayo played for any other team other than the Bucks? Am I going to get yelled at?
That's like saying that Dwight Howard was a Met.
He was.
I mean, he technically was also a
Hawk. He might be in that again. The way things are going, you never
That's
know.
also true.
OJ Mayo did play for 3 teams.
Ooh, so it was the Bucks.
But the thing was that Dennis and I both remembered Larry Sanders playing for Cleveland. You were the only one that didn't.
Dumbass.
Because he played 13 minutes.
But it was also when LeBron came back to the team. So he did also play with LeBron.
And you said
on the floor for those 13 minutes with LeBron.
Hey, sometimes guys don't need to be on the floor. Look at Mr. Haslam coming back for his 20th and final season. Sometimes guys are just valuable off the bench.
Speaking of Kobe, tying Kobe for the most amount of seasons with one team.
That's impressive, though. You don't see that a lot anymore.
You know who cares about that?
Speaking of street clothes, though, Dennis, I saw a stat today that said Udonis Haslem has missed enough games to miss 8 complete seasons.
Good for him.
But I doubt most of those were injuries. It was just the end of his career and just didn't play.
He is the highest paid assistant coach in the league without having to actually have assistant coach duties. He's a genius.
1,000%.
He's the most brilliant man on the planet. Courtside seats.
So, Larry Sanders doesn't even show up on their lineup pages.
He's so upset that
he was wrong.
That he was wrong.
So anyway, moving on to actual topics that we had planned this week. Kevin Durant. We'll start off with this.
We're just talking about Larry Sanders.
True. So we can get Kevin Durant out of the way once and for all until the season starts. He's going back to Brooklyn. We're acting like none of this ever happened. Sean Marks, Joe Tsai, Steve Nash all had a meeting. They're talking about the fact that, like, oh, we're planning towards the future. It's not just going to be a one-year thing, all this kind of stuff. And as Mike's dancing, Kevin Durant started this whole thing where Patrick Beverley brought up the whole situation, and KD said, like, hashtag blame KD and everything.
And I want to touch on Patrick Beverley too.
Okay, but I mean, this whole thing could have been avoided. Like, what did this get anybody? It didn't get anybody anywhere because Brooklyn hasn't even fired Sean Marks or Steve Nash that Kevin Durant previously talked about.
We're playing basketball. We playing basketball.
We still don't know if Kyrie actually is going to play basketball.
I don't know, though. The reports coming out regarding Kyrie Irving is that
True.
He has been engaging with his teammates throughout the summer while being engaged in meaningful dialogue with the team. Whatever the fuck that means, I have no idea, but I don't know what meaningful dialogue, but it's kind of funny
has
that
been engaged in meaningful dialogue with his wife, so, you know.
Hey, at least someone's getting it in, between the two of us, you know what I mean?
But I would also love to know what meaningful dialogue is.
You know what I interpreted that as somebody didn't get as much interest from other teams on the trade market, nor did he know that he was going to get any interest as a free agent if he opted out. So this is Kyrie getting his pee-pee slapped and being on his best behavior. I predict that we may see the best Kyrie Irving that we've seen in years this season. He's going to I would guarantee and say that Kyrie Irving may play 65 games that he's available to play, and I'm not going to count Toronto.
Right.
He's going to shoot 39% from behind the arc. He's going to average 20.
He's a 50-40-90 guy.
I mean, 30% isn't that far off.
That's 39%.
You're right. I just don't know why you wouldn't say 40.
Because I'm saying 39%. Like 40 is like there's a lot of guys who could shoot like 38.7%, 37.9%. Not a lot of guys could shoot above 40. For some reason, that number is like a significant difference.
True.
But Kyrie's going to have like 1.3 steals, 23.1 points per game, 6 rebounds. Like, this is going to be a great Kyrie Irving. He's going to be on his best behavior.
I mean, he has to play for a contract because he hasn't gotten that extension. Nike doesn't want him. he apparently wants to negotiate that contract we talked about last week about playing only 60 games and no back-to-backs. But if you don't show that you can even be healthy enough or play in 60 games, why would anyone even sign you to that contract in the first place and give you the money that you want for that contract? So he better show up.
No
I
cap.
think the Nets will sign him to a long-term deal once it's all said and done.
But then what happens
I will
if
go
he...
out on the record and say the Nets will win more games this year than the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay.
We have a better roster, top to bottom. We have a better roster.
What do you mean a better roster?
All right, who's better, KD or Embiid?
Embiid.
Shut up.
No, I mean,
Embiid was number 2 in MVP race.
Yeah,
2 years running.
That's because KD got hurt.
2 years running.
KD has been hurt, like, it's missed significant portions of the season.
KD's better. All right, who's better, Kyrie or James Harden? I'll give you
James Harden.
I'll give you it to wash. Who's better?
No, it's James Harden.
No,
Depends on
Tyrese Maxey or Ben Simmons. Don't even.
Tyrese Maxey.
No, come on.
Nah, that I would disagree. However, if you look at the reports though about James Harden and his summer workout regimen, how hard he's been working.
Yeah, because the strip clubs are closed in the summer.
What? That's the most popular time of the year.
What?
I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that, but I heard. That's what I've heard.
All right.
The word on the street.
Let's go fourth player. Seth Curry or Berkman Korkmaz.
That's not even their fourth player.
Who's your fourth? Tobias Harris. All right, I'll give you Tobias Harris. Who's the fifth guy? Who's your 5?
It would probably be if you're.
Why are you saying Seth Curry? What about? I mean,
it would.
Joe Harris is
be,
good.
But Tobias is the better Harris. But anyway,
it would probably be PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker is nowhere near as good as Nick Claxton. So let's go.
I don't know about that.
You guys sleep on Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton, if he was on his own team, he would be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Bruh. He can't even get on the floor enough to be defensive anything.
I was about to say, if he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, he'd be playing more in Brooklyn because they've needed that. That's what they have needed the whole time.
Bruh, your boy got punishment last year. He was.
Dre said James Harden's probably at a strip club right now. Probably true, and he's still from the reports. He's still in the best shape of his life.
Is that Dre from the podcast? Is that Dre from the Fantasy League? I mean,
Dre from our? I don't know.
Yeah,
it literally just says Dre. So
yo, Dre. Is that Dre?
I wish my name was Dre. What a cool
Dre.
name.
Is that Dre Graham? Is that Dre Graham?
Nobody knows, Mike. It's a Dre.
We get a response.
We'll see when he comments again.
I mean, Dre,
but either way,
God, I wish my name was Dre.
Maybe it was Andre Roberson or Dr. Dre.
I mean, Roberson or Dr. Dre would be pretty cool. But
probably like Dre Blansky or something. Some Jewish
also,
with prep.
Comparing bench to bench, the Sixers bench is now better than Brooklyn's bench.
I can't name one guy on your bench. Georges Niang?
DeAnthony Melton?
Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, see, know how he just skipped over that?
Isaiah Joe, DeAnthony Melton, Charles Bazzi,
Daniel House.
So you just named the Rockets.
B-Ball Paul. B-Ball Paul
Reed,
right now
Cam
just
Thomas,
as good as Nick Claxton.
Day'Ron Sharp, Kessler Edwards.
B-Ball Paul right now is just as good as Nick Claxton.
David Duke Jr.
And that's our backup.
Patty Mills.
Just letting you know.
Can you see how excited I am? Patty Mills.
We got an Olympic silver medalist on our bench. What do you got?
Dre said for sure James Harden is definitely in good shape right now.
Dre, can you answer my question?
Dre.
Can you answer my damn question?
No, but he doesn't want to answer your question. You know, he's just talking.
All right. Anyway, what's the next topic?
We haven't even started the first one.
I was about to say, we haven't even really talked about KD at all.
Well, KD's back. I'm excited. The Nets are going to win 62 games. Get the 2 seed behind the Bucks.
So I just want to know what makes you think it's going to be that much different compared to the last few seasons that you've had KD
Ben
and
Simmons
Kyrie.
is literally Bruce Brown on steroids with mental block.
But that makes Ben Simmons doesn't make Kyrie and KD healthy and want to play basketball.
No, but it solves our biggest need, which is rebounding and defense.
Okay, so then KD and Kyrie are hurt. Then what's your need?
They'll be fine. We got Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas
How do you,
and Seth Rivers will fill in.
How do you say they're going to be fine when they haven't been fine?
They'll be fine. Trust the process.
No, you know, I don't care what. I mean, I got my Nets gear. I mean, I'm a Nets guy, right? But if you're thinking that just because the roster is going to make them a good team, the problem is they have to stay on the floor. They have to stay healthy. I have significant concerns that both Kyrie and Kevin Durant could stay healthy for an entire season. So the Nets really shit the bed once KD went down with that knee injury last season. Like, that totally derailed the entire season. Kyrie not being available didn't help, obviously, but KD, let's not forget either that KD's a guy who could average 2 blocks a game. Like, he's basically a center who's mobile enough to do everything else, but they got to stay on the floor at the same time. But hopefully if Ben Simmons stays healthy, that'll put the pressure on everybody else, because if Ben Simmons can stay healthy. And I was thinking about this today too, like, I'm changing my thought process right here, but I was thinking that you're going to see at some point that Ben Simmons is going to turn into the savior for the Nets. He's going to be like the guy that people are going to go, thank God we have Ben Simmons, because KD's hurt and Kyrie's a lunatic.
Yeah, and Sixers fans are going to be like, shit, we have James Harden.
I mean, we're not, but okay.
The human grenade. The human grenade.
My main thing that I'm interested to see, too, is when Ben Simmons plays with Kyrie and KD. Not KD as much, because I know KD can be a great spot-up shooter. But Kyrie is not usually just a spot-up shooter. Kyrie gets a lot of his points off the dribble. So then are you turning Simmons into, like... Because then, I mean, who are you putting in the dunker's spot? Are you putting whoever's playing center, or are you putting Ben Simmons down there?
Ben Simmons.
So then now you're relying on who? Claxton and Sharp and people to hit threes consistently? Because then where's the spacing? Because that was the main issue
they're
in
going to
Philly.
play Ben Simmons at the 5, and they're going to go small.
No, if anything, I could see like a lineup of Ben at the point or Kyrie at the point. Like, it's in I could see even Durant like getting a lot of time at the center spot, more so than Ben Simmons would.
I could see that.
Ben Simmons would get the 4. Joe Harris would get the 3. Then they have to figure out who's going to be at the 2.
I mean, most likely Seth, but at that point, any other team's game plan would just to be attack Seth and Joe.
Right. I honestly don't think that the Nets' best starting lineup is with Nico Claxton in it.
True. So then here's my thing. Do you play Seth and Joe together? Because they're both kind of liabilities on defense. Not that Joe's terrible. Like, Joe has his moments, but...
Well, here's the thing. Like, the whole plan was to be... If the Nets can actually put up points, like, good. All right? So the Nets are constructed to where they're going to take their hits on the defensive end because they can play faster, but they got to score points. And they also got to, and another thing too that really like significantly hindered Brooklyn last season was they turned the ball over way too damn much. So if they can improve in ball security and they can get a couple more rebounds, but they got to be consistent scoring points, it doesn't matter how much, like, on the defensive end, if they're not as good as another, other of the top defensive teams in the league, it doesn't matter because they have the potential to be the best offensive team in the league.
I mean, yeah, the potential is for sure there. It kind of just, I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot of ifs to see exactly what can actually work.
Well, they like I said, these guys haven't played together. There's gonna be some growing pains to kind of figure out what's going on, and It's gonna come down to health. It's gonna come down to turnover. It's gonna come down to rebounding and consistency on the offensive end. KD and Kyrie have to show up. Ben is going to do what he's going to do. However, it's not really critical that he improved offensively, especially shooting the ball, but it would certainly help.
That's true.
And yeah, so it's going to be interesting. But all I know is that week 1 of the NFL season's around the corner, and NBA training camp's going to be starting. So it's a good fucking time of year. And goddamn, it's not even hot as shit out anymore, which is good.
That's a good point. And I will say, as a wrapping up bit here, when I was talking about Kyrie and KD alongside Ben Simmons, I do want to see, like, if they can make that offense fluid, because looking at, like, KD, his percentage of his field goals assisted, 2-pointers was up at like 40-some%, 3-pointers was at like 70-some%. So like I said, he's a great spot-up shooter, and I know he can be. Kyrie only has 23% of his 2-pointers assisted and 50% of his 3-pointers. And then in the playoffs, he only had 25% of his 3-pointers assisted. So he's taken a lot of stuff off the dribble. And not saying that he can't be a spot-up shooter or anything, but I'm just saying it's going to be interesting because Ben Simmons needs to have the ball in his hands to be impactful on offense.
Yeah, but if you look at Kyrie, when Kyrie was playing the 2 and James Harden was playing the 1, like, Kyrie can play off the ball.
Right.
So,
I mean...
But yeah, big deal. Kevin Durant's going back to Brooklyn. In my mind, he looks like a piece of garbage still because let's just face it, nobody wanted him. The Nets weren't really serious about wanting to trade him. Nobody wanted him. Nobody was willing to give the amount of draft picks. And Kevin Durant should be ashamed of himself for how he's acted over the past couple months. He looks stupid. He looks dumber than ever. And yeah, he's got a lot of work to do in order to shed his negative image. His stock couldn't be any lower than it is right now. We're talking about a guy who's injured. We're talking about a guy who is proven that he's not a leader. He has questionably mental health issues. So yeah, and getting back to the Patrick Beverley thing, I'm totally glad a guy like Patrick Beverley called him out, because Patrick Beverley is 100% correct when he said what he said.
Yeah, I mean, because in the end, he tried to get people fired. Like, He did say, the only way I'm coming back is if Sean Marks and Steve Nash are fired. And Patrick Beverley is like, man, you got to keep that kind of stuff in private. Coming out and revealing all that kind of stuff or asking for that kind of stuff is ridiculous. Which it is. Asking another person to lose their job just so you can stay somewhere. Come on.
I mean, we're talking about people who have kids in school. We're talking about people who, I mean, they're all millionaires, so they're going to be completely fine. But we're talking about people who uproot their lives, bring their family a lot of times across the country. Their kids got to make new friends. So they make a lot of sacrifices going. For you to throw a temper tantrum just because you don't like what's going on because your boy's messed up and you're sticking up for a guy who just doesn't care about anybody but himself, and now you're throwing a temper tantrum because you want Sean Marks and Steve Nash thrown at it, just like you did with Kenny Atkinson. Now you want another coach gone? Yeah, bullshit. He should be ashamed of himself.
I was about to say they signed off on Steve Nash being the coach. That was your own doing. So like being unhappy about that is your own fault. But moving on.
Yep.
We'll stay in New York before we get to Mike's favorite prospect. RJ Barrett. Apparently, the Knicks have been actually contemplating including him in the deal to get Donovan Mitchell. I believe their last offer was something like Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, and a couple first-round picks. Well, it was like 2 unprotected and 2 protected first-round picks.
So
Utah said no to that.
Can I just the latest offer I saw was Evan Fournier, Obi Toppin, 4 first-round picks, with 2 of those being unprotected and cash. Something
that was the one I was thinking of, not Quentin Grimes. Yeah.
No, it's okay, honey. It's okay, honey. I got you.
So obviously Utah is not going to want that because nobody wants Fournier.
Or do they? Are they just playing hardball right now?
I really hope they wouldn't do all that for Fournier, Toppin, and some picks. Because for Donovan Mitchell, that especially what they got for Rudy Gobert.
Right, but
I mean,
that's
not saying everyone's just as dumb as Minnesota, but like,
I mean, but honestly, Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be there anymore. They're running out of time before the regular season starts. Their KD's not going anywhere, so obviously that kind of locks up a little thing. Miami, I guess, would be the only real suitor who would be interested in maybe taking on Donovan Mitchell, but what are you going to get back in return? Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson.
right.
You know what I mean? Picks that won't nearly be as valuable as the Knicks picks would be, especially if you have a team that has Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Donovan Mitchell on it.
Exactly. Plus, I don't know how many picks they even have left.
Now, if you're going to get RJ Barrett's not my favorite player on the planet. I think he's kind of a bust in some ways.
Okay.
Some days he looks really good, and then other days he scores 8 points, and he looks like garbage. So the Knicks can't build a franchise around him. So moving on from him would be a good idea. But if they could avoid not dealing him and keep him and maybe trade him for somebody else, then that's fine. But if the Jazz were going to get him back as a part of the deal, fine, take it. Right. However, I don't know. I just don't. I was actually thinking about, too, when I was looking at the Cavs roster, I was looking at all the assets that the Cavs have that would be, they have draft picks, they have Kevin Love that they could deal, they have Lowry Marketing, who's making a lot of money. They have a lot of guys who could get dealt, and the Cavs could possibly consider maybe sending Sexton, who they haven't been able to work out a new contract with him. He wants considerably more money. I doubt he wants to share any piece of the spotlight with Darius Garland, because going into last season, Colin Sexton was the man and Darius Garland was the number 2. Now we're going into this season with Colin Sexton as the number 2 and Darius Garland's number 1, and I don't think he likes that.
Honestly, Sexton looks like the number 3 right now.
Yeah, well, he's more like he's number 4.
Well, who's number 3? Don't say Karis LeVert.
Are you talking about as point guard or overall?
Just overall in the team.
Well, 1 is Mobley, and 1 is Garland, 2 is Mobley, 3 is Jared Allen, and then 4 is Sexton.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that Jared Allen's that much.
They paid Jared Allen $100 million, and they haven't paid Sexton yet. So you tell me who's number 3.
Well, in their mind, but I'm just saying that, like, Jared Allen's more valuable to the Cavs right now than Colin Sexton is.
Right.
But even
pure,
LeVert,
like,
they could,
skill-wise, I would put him 3.
LeVert makes a ton of money. He's a guy who doesn't. I mean, they have enough depth at the small forward position, shooting guard. They have depth, so he's another guy who they can maybe dangle somewhere to the Jazz along with some picks and maybe Colin Sexton. Like that would work out much better than any deal with the Knicks. What are you going to get, Evan Fournier? Who cares about that? I'd rather go after Colin Sexton.
Like Colin Sexton, LeVert, and then maybe say like, one of the bench guys like Lamar Stevens or Dean Wade, and then 3 picks. That sounds a whole lot better.
If you gave me like Chetty Osman or
True
Colin Sexton and Lamar Stevens and some draft picks and Karis, like you would definitely have to take that.
Oh yeah, over anything the Knicks are giving you, unless they're giving you like RJ and Quentin Grimes. Like that would be something that I'd be like, all right, then I think about it. But anything else,
I'd still rather have Colin Sexton any day over RJ Barrett.
The only reason I would think about it, so I've flip-flopped on RJ a lot because, like you said, there's times he looks amazing, there's times he looks like garbage. But overall, stats-wise, he has been getting better every season. His defense got better last season as well. He used to be a revolving door on defense. I mean,
he averaged 20 points last year. Then, like the year before, I think it was like 17. So yeah, he is getting better.
Yeah. And his 3-point percentage, I think, got better. I remember him saying he was going to work on that kind of stuff in the offseason.
He went down to 34% last season. Then he was 40% the year before. Was I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like he got better on the defensive end. He was actually like for a part of the year up for consideration for like an all defensive team. But that kind of fizzled out. Also because like when you have Tibbs, you don't have the legs to compete that long. But I still like RJ as a prospect, and I still do think that, not including Brunson, RJ is probably the best asset that the Knicks have.
Excuse me.
Like, I think and I don't think it's particularly close that he's the best asset they have. And after him, it's probably Quentin Grimes. Because, like, I mean, Brunson can't be traded until a certain point, but they're not going to trade him after tampering for him. Julius Randle is kind of pretty much damaged good. True. Julius Randle is pretty much damaged goods at this point. I mean, even all of New York doesn't really want him right now. Mitchell Robinson is hurt all the time. Fournier is not good enough. I mean, Derrick Rose is good, but like a rebuilding team isn't going to want Derrick Rose. A championship team that might need a bench point guard, sure, but not Utah. So, I mean, RJ kind of is the de facto number one asset besides if you give them like 5 unprotected first-round picks.
Right, which apparently the holdup is the amount of protection on those picks.
Right.
So they say, but I mean, they might say, well, we'll protect these picks, but then because I don't think the Knicks want to give up those picks. But then again, if you get Donovan Mitchell, who cares? Those picks aren't going to be worth anything if everything works out.
That's true. And that's what makes me think that they're also kind of worried about how they're going to be. Because if you're worried about those picks and the protections and everything, that makes me think you don't have that much faith that you're going to be a great team.
Well, I mean, it is the Knicks, so.
Exactly. Mike, do you have anything on this topic?
Yeah, I think they're playing a game of chicken right now. It's who wants to give up what they're willing to give up, kind of thing. I think ultimately Donovan Mitchell ends up in New York, but I will say, I was talking to my buddy the other day. It's funny how Danny Ainge back in the day screwed the Nets over with the whole Celtics trade.
Right.
And now because of the Rudy Gobert trade, he basically saved the Nets.
True. I did see it said, like, even if Minnesota doesn't win the championship, they defended the whole Western Conference from KD coming to the West.
Pretty much.
I don't know. I'd still rather, whatever. Cares what I want.
Yeah.
I did, we got the fair going on around here, the New York State Fair.
Uh-huh.
And my wife brought me home some deep fried not Oreos, Reese's peanut butter cups.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then there was some mashed potatoes and like beef tips, which were pretty fucking good.
Okay.
I don't know how I segued into that, but whatever.
Deep fried Reese's cups sound good though. I've never seen. I've seen the deep fried Oreos, but not those.
They deep fry everything. Like
True.
you can literally fry everything and get away with it.
I mean, fried anything is usually pretty good. I just got back from New Orleans and they fry everything down there.
Right, I'd be dead if I lived there.
This is why Zion gained all that weight.
Did you eat
He's
any
eating all the fried catfish and the crawfish po' boys and the gumbo and the jambalaya and the cornbread.
So here's what would happen between everything being fried and everything being spicy is shit. I'd have an ulcer and diarrhea every day, and fat. I'd have heart disease, and by 42, and as opposed to 44, like I'm going right now. But
every time I've come back from New Orleans, I've at least gained 5 pounds.
What are you doing in New Orleans?
This time was celebrating the girl that is going to be in my wedding. It was her bachelorette. So me and a bunch of friends went down.
What do you mean in your wedding?
Like she's gonna be on my side of the with the groomsmen. She's gonna be a groomswoman.
No, what I'm getting at is that you've already picked your groomsman.
Yeah, you haven't seen his starting lineup posts.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. I thought I was gonna. Okay, I respect that.
I'm sorry to let you know.
Then they're
I was waiting for a phone call.
He said you could be the flower girl.
Yeah, you can come down throwing flowers out.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll rock the shit out of a skirt or dress.
I mean, you didn't have to wear a dress, but...
I mean,
if you really wanted to.
I got cauliflower here. I'd look really good in a dress. The fat guy with cauliflower ears wearing a dress throwing flowers.
It would all work out. So,
well, best of luck to you.
Moving on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike's favorite draft pick, Chet Holmgren, feared to have a major foot injury with ligament damage, suffered in the Seattle Pro-Am game against LeBron. It apparently was when he went to block LeBron's layup, but didn't block it and came up limping or something. But apparently, according to Shams, they are feared that he is going to have ligament damage. Mike, how are you feeling about this?
I'm not worried. Not worried at all.
Well, I would be.
I was about to say, I would too.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, well, here's the thing, all right? He's 7 feet tall. He weighs about 153 pounds. And if he thinks that he's going to go up and he's going to block LeBron, who I'm not a huge fan of LeBron, from a personal level, but I do acknowledge that he is he's a god among men when it comes to, the guy's chiseled out of granite. He's just a specimen like no other. And if little Chet thinks that he's going to go up and block somebody just to make a name for himself, if he's going to do that against LeBron and at 162 pounds, no way in hell that's going to happen.
I mean, and the whole criticism of Chet coming in was what's going to happen when he guards players like Embiid and Jokic and LeBron and all these guys that are double and triple his weight. And
I mean, do you
this
think
is
they
just a
just
pro-am game.
they think they just make this stuff up? Like, he's small, and then everybody's going, but he can shoot 3-point shots. Like, he averaged 9 blocks in college. Like, that's not college. And this goes back to my point where I say this is not college.
Right.
Then
But
trade me the first overall pick so I can have Holmgren.
nobody else wants him. Alex, you might as well just trade it to him.
Yeah, let's make a trade.
He's just gonna
Live
trade
on
me
air.
terrible stuff. He's gonna be like, "Oh, here's Okongwu and here's a second round pick."
Yeah.
That's more than enough to go from 4 to 1.
And $5 fab dollars.
Not at all. The number 1 overall pick has a lot of value to it.
He's damaged good.
I told Mike one time literally tried to get $5 fab dollars from me, and I said, listen, if you ever try to fucking hold up a trade for $5 fab dollars, I'm going to drive down to wherever you are in New Jersey, that garbage, instead of the Garden State, they should call it the Garbage State, because that's what it is. I'm going to drive down there, I'm going to punch you so hard in the face, it's not even $5 fab dollars he was holding up a trade for. That's an accountant right there.
The thing is with Mike too, I've never seen Mike spend more than like $5 on a player.
Right, he needs that he needs that.
Like, damn, I saw Dennis dropped $40 on what's his name in
Trae Jones.
Yeah, Trae Jones. I was like, all right, I think like $10 to $12 is gonna do.
Yeah, but that's where my anxiety comes into play, because if I put in an original bid at 20, and if some asshole put in 22, I would have jumped off a bridge, because I have a feeling he's gonna get a lot of playing time this season.
Oh yeah, I agree. That was why I was bidding for him. But either way, yeah. Chet. Here's the thing too. A lot of people said the same thing about a few different players that have gone different ways. People said the same thing about KD with how skinny he was. But there is a big difference in the offensive skill and talent levels of KD versus Chet. And on top of that, people said that about Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel hasn't amounted to much.
But Nerlens Noel didn't have the offensive skill set that Chet has.
No, but I'm just giving you the range of people that this can actually get to in terms of like the people who didn't really like put on that much weight in their frame. KD is fine because he's not banging down low with a bunch of people all the time, and he's not technically not a center and didn't play center until just a few seasons ago when small ball really took off and became a thing.
Yeah.
Chet's going to be playing center.
KD is like deceptive. Like he doesn't look strong, but he actually is kind of strong, you know?
Right. Agreed.
But if the Thunder think that Pokachevsky and Holmgren are going to do them any favors down low, banging on the boards, they're crazy. You
don't think the thin towers are going to take over?
0%. I
will say,
would have I'd rather have Robin Lopez.
I will say, I'm looking it up right now. Kevin Durant weighed 215 in his rookie year, and now he's 240. Chet weighs 190 in his rookie season. So he's even smaller than KD was.
I weighed 190 in 7th grade.
I'm 185 right now. So he is only 5 pounds more than me.
And he's about 1.5 feet taller.
Exactly.
I mean, he looks like he's dying of leukemia.
Oh God.
He looks like what was the guy he looks like? The goth kid from South Park?
Oh God, I forgot about that kid. I know who you're talking about. I forget his name. But
can you put that on the screen for Dennis?
I know who you're talking about. He's got like dark black hair and he's pissed off. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But like, I'm just looking it up right now. So he got hurt against LeBron, who is 250. Joel Embiid's 280. Jokic is 284. Even let's say Giannis is about a little under 250 as well. Like, if he's already getting hurt and things like this, where, first off, they're not even going 100% because it's a Pro-Am game. Like, LeBron knows better than to go 100% full force in a Pro-Am game. It worries me that this kind of thing has already happened.
What's going on with these dogs?
Oh, my dogs are... I think they're wrestling now. They were fine for the longest time.
Wait, you have multiple dogs now?
Yeah, we got a new puppy.
I was like, where do you live? Upstairs from a Chinese restaurant?
Jesus.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Like, what is happening?
I was not prepared for that joke.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Allegedly.
But yeah, just to wrap it up for the Chet topic here, it just worries me even more. I mean, now OKC tanks yet another year. What if OKC gets the number 1 pick again? Are they going to take Victor and then have him and Chet?
Probably. You gotta think.
I don't know. I just think OKC, with all the tanking that they've done and all the picks that they have gathered, when is it time for them to actually compete for anything? Especially if Chet's hurt and he's out the rest of the year.
He's not out for the rest of the year. Will you calm down?
Ben Simmons messed up ligaments in his foot too. He was out for a whole season.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is afraid to play basketball half the time.
Okay. The whole thing that derailed Yao Ming's career was ligaments in his foot.
Yeah, well, Yao Ming was 7'5", 270.
Okay, but I'm just saying...
Don't matter.
Tearing ligaments in your foot as a basketball player and as a 7-footer all don't spell good things.
Yao Ming was 3'10". Chet'll be all right.
Mike, you're delusional.
I am. Trade me the first pick.
No.
And 10 fab dollars.
And $10 fab dollars.
The other thing, Mike always wants the first pick, and he's like, well, I have the 4th pick. And it's like, yeah, so I lose out on the top 3 guys of the draft.
Right.
Well, you could say that if I said I had the 3rd pick, then you'd be like, oh, I missed out on the top 2 guys.
Well, no, because then I could at least get one of the top 3 guys, because I think all 3 of them are going to be good. But at the 4th pick, then I'm stuck with either Jaden Ivey, who's probably going to get hurt again, or, I mean, Keegan Murray isn't bad, but when I could have had Paolo, Chet, or Jabari, I'd rather have them, so. But either way.
I'll take the sesame chicken.
So, our last segment of the night, the What You Got segment. Mike, you want to go first?
Do I want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. What I got? I don't got much, but
we know.
Who is your? Who do you think is going to be the biggest breakout player this year?
I got it right now.
Your man's.
My man's.
I mean, that is a solid pick.
He's going to be in the top 5 MVP voting. My man.
For those wondering at home, it's Scotty Barnes that he's talking about.
Yes, my man's.
I mean, I could see him in the top 5 of MVP at some point. I don't know about this season. That's pretty bold. But I like Scotty Barnes a lot. There's a few guys that I could see breaking out. Would you count? So Desmond Bane already had a good year last year. Would you count him as being able to quote unquote break out?
Yeah.
Because I would put Desmond Bane up there. And then after Bane, I would probably put. I want to say Tyrese Maxey, but he kind of broke out last season. He had a breakout. I mean, he could get even better, but he kind of already had a breakout.
I have one more too to.
You go first. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Kristaps Porzingis because he's gonna break something.
He's gonna break a hip out.
Yes, he's gonna break out. He's gonna break his hand or break his.
God.
I'm tired.
My other one is Davion Mitchell. I think Davion Mitchell's gonna break out.
You know when you do those the things and those things you do at the YouTube where you would have somebody go, say what?
Yeah.
That's what I just came into my head when you said Davion Mitchell. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Look, both of you said the same thing when I said Ime for Coach of the Year.
He did win Coach of the Year.
I didn't say he won, but now he's regarded as one of the best coaches in the league. So, I mean, I've just always had, for some, you know how you have those guys where you're like, I just think this guy's really going to do well. And even if they don't the first, 3 seasons, you're like, one season he's going to hit that stride.
Davion
Mitchell. I know. What?
Are you good over there?
Why? What's going on?
I'm just hearing some weird noises coming from you.
I can't breathe out of my nose, my face. Okay. It's just, yeah. I know why exactly you picked eBay for Coach of the Year.
Why?
You were trying to be all, It's because he looks good in a sweater.
Diversity?
No, I didn't say anything about that. I just meant he looks good in a sweater. That's what he does. I mean, God damn, he's a good-looking guy. Shit, I wish I looked that good. He look at his fiance. Damn.
He is a good-looking dude. He's also a really good coach.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. All right. That was a good question, Mike. Who's yours?
Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay.
Well, you went on a limb there.
Why?
You got the Pacers office saying we're building around Tyrese Halliburton. Boy, you really went out. You took a chance on that one, Mike, honey.
Halliburton actually went for $54 in our 30-team league.
I ain't touching that.
Yeah, I think he went for more than Embiid did.
So I'm currently in a fantasy football draft, and I'm pissed at half the league. And I've been sitting on the clock. There's no time limit in a draft. We're in the 4th pick of the draft. It started at 6:15. I've been sitting on the clock for an hour and a half, not picking on purpose. Do you think I should start? Do you think I should pick at this point or keep it going?
Is this a rookie draft or a startup?
Yeah, rookie.
Oh, okay. It's interesting. There's no time limit. I've never seen one with no time limit.
He didn't put a time limit on. I'm just sitting here.
I say let it drag out a little more.
I'm waiting for a text or something. Be like, are you gonna pick?
But all right, Dennis, do you want to go next? Or you want me to go next?
Well, the other day I saw Jamal Murray,
my guy,
claiming he's going to be ready for the preseason. If we get a healthy Jamal Murray this season, if we get a healthy Michael Porter, or even if we don't get Michael Porter, And we have Nikola, and then Bruce Brown, and are the Nuggets a Western Conference championship contender?
I know Mike's answer.
You guys know my answer. I was on the Nuggets 2 years before they were good.
I only think they're a Western Conference championship contender if everyone is back healthy. If they don't have everybody, especially the big three, then I don't have much faith in them in winning the West. Especially with the
Speaking of the big three,
go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of big three, shout out to the trilogy.
I know, champions again.
For capturing a big three championship. Good
old Isaiah Briscoe getting a championship over there.
It's about time he did something.
He was supposed to be so good in the NBA and everything. I really thought he was going to at least crack a lineup or something.
I watched the big three and I said, God damn it, why don't I watch this more? Because this is fun.
It is fun. It's just like there's no stakes to it because you're not like, oh, I need my team to win an NBA championship. You're just kind of like, oh, I remember that guy, and I remember him. And it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. But yeah, if they're especially their big three, if they're not healthy, I don't like them as Western championship contenders, especially over the likes of like I still think Phoenix is gonna be up there. I still think Golden State's gonna be up there. Dallas, I think, is gonna be better than last year. Even without Brunson there, I still think Dallas is gonna be better. And then you still have, if the Lakers are healthy, I mean, they're going to be in the mix. And on top of that, you still have, I mean, I don't think they're going to be better, but a lot of people think Minnesota is going to be better. So there's a lot of teams that are still going to be in that mix that I don't know if I would put them as like, because if you're saying they're Western Conference final championship contenders, that means you think they could make the finals, essentially. And I don't think they could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I don't know what just brought this up, but, the Giannis missing the final game of the Acropolis tournament due to back soreness. That's kind of a problem for me. MRIs came back clean. However, that's just something to think about, something to keep an eye on.
That's true. I mean, I'm hoping it's just something like, oh, I have bigger things to play for in the NBA, and I'm just going to take it easy. I'm hoping it's that, but if it's actually a back issues are nothing to play with.
I have a feeling this might turn into something.
For Milwaukee's sake, I hope not. But so, here's my topic. I got this one off of Reddit, actually.
Whoa.
When healthy...
Oh, the basketball part of Reddit.
Yes.
What do you think?
When
Well,
Mike, he was thinking all sorts of things.
There are other parts of Reddit, honey.
He knows, Mike. He knows.
Yeah, like cooking.
What is wrong with you, Dennis?
A lot.
You know his story last episode when he was 13 watching that movie? Like, he was also looking at Reddit.
How are you a father?
By watching Reddit. Yes, I got Dennis. Yes.
No, true story. I never knew Reddit existed, right? So my buddy goes, I go here, I go there, I check this out. He goes, I go, why? Where do you go? He goes, I go to Reddit. I go, Reddit? What are you talking about, Reddit? He goes, yeah, man, this is the best place. And I go, sure enough, he fucking changed my life.
Had a kid and everything.
Yeah.
Dennis.
But anyway. Anyway, I found this on Reddit. When healthy, there seems to be a consensus that Luka, Tatum, Trae Young, Zion Williamson, and Ja Morant, in some order, are the 5 best under 25 players right now. Where do you think each of them will be at their peak? And the example is Tatum will peak somewhere in between Paul George and Kawhi, or Trae Young will be somewhere in between Dame and Harden. Those are just examples. So let's start off with Luka. Like, where do you think Luka's peak is? Is his peak like LeBron? Or is his peak like another player that you could think of? Like another, like that level of accolades and stats and all that kind of stuff.
I think he's got like Dirk Nowitzki peak.
Okay.
A little higher. Maybe 2 titles. Maybe. Maybe finishes top 10 scoring. Top 10. Like he's tops 10s in assists and that type of stuff. But I don't think he's like going to be on a LeBron level.
Okay.
As long as my question about him is like his durability, and how he gets like fat and stuff, like that is a problem.
That's true.
My keyboard doesn't want to work, so I can't look up the guy I'm trying to look up.
All right, well, I'll just go down the list real quick, of mine. I'll get back.
I think.
Okay,
never
fuck
mind.
me then.
He never averaged as many points as I thought he did. I was gonna say his peak is Jason Kidd, but Jason Kidd wasn't the scorer.
Yeah, I mean he was more of an all-around guy instead of scoring.
Yeah.
I mean I can see the other sides of Luka being compared to Jason Kidd. So, I mean, and also Jason Kidd does have a lot of good accolades, and at the end of the day is one of the greatest point guards.
I can see, though, out of that group, like Tatum being like the more impactful person in terms of like the league-wide legacy. Like he's a guy who's gonna have maybe win more championships. He's not gonna be like as individually talented, but he's gonna be consistent. Like he's less injury prone than those other guys are. Morant's certainly a good player, but I mean he's street clothes at times. Trae Young's a little reckless. Sometimes he can get to those moments where he doesn't play as well, is evidence in the postseason when he went like 9 for 48 from the field. And who is the other one?
Zion.
Oh, Zion's gonna just get on the floor. If he gets on the floor, that's a win in itself. I honestly, I don't even think Zion like deserves to be in that category at all by any means.
Okay, that's fair.
He's played 3 games in his career.
Essentially true. Mike, what do you think? You still have Tatum, Trae, Zion, and Ja.
What's the question again?
Same question.
the one he asked.
The first question.
The
like
one he asked.
Like where do you see their peaks? Like who are you thinking their peak is going to be like?
Ja, I could see like an Allen Iverson peak. Tatum. I mean Tatum. He's got like a KD kind of peak.
True.
I think he needs to have a little more talent around him. What are the other two? Zion. Zion's weird. I don't know who Zion would peak as. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, I think he can peak at like, a Shaq, but I don't think he has defense.
Right.
And then what was the last one? Who was the last one?
Trae Young.
Trae Young. He's another guy like he could peak in an Allen Iverson level.
Okay. So I can see I could see Tatum peaking somewhere between like a Kawhi and a KD. Also, I like the KD comparison, especially because their offensive games are both like just as dynamic, and I mean Tatum's shooting can get him buckets anywhere on the floor, and especially if he gets better point guards with him, I mean that just unlocks his ceiling even more. But then Trae Young, I think, is interesting because like younger Ray Allen kind of, I mean, Ray Allen had way better athleticism than Trae, but like the shooting ability, the offensive ability, they seem to be like close to the same level, although Ray Allen, I think, is a little bit above Trae Young's peak at what he could get to, but also once Trae gets older, I could see him becoming a sort of Ray Allen where he just becomes a spot-up shooter. But I probably would put his peak... Actually, now that I think about it, I might put his peak at like a Stephon Marbury. But like better shooting than Marbury. And then Zion, I would probably put his peak somewhere up. I mean, he kind of is like a Shaq, like just in terms of sheer size and athleticism that just makes him kind of unstoppable. But also, Dennis, as you said, he has to be on the court. He has to play. So I think, I could see his peak kind of being up there with some of the better power forwards that have played, but it's not going to be like a Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki type of thing, but like a tier underneath them. I can't think of somebody's name off the top of my head, but somebody like a tier underneath those guys.
I think he's one injury away from being a bust.
Oh, I mean, for sure. I think that's also the case. But I'm just saying, if he stays healthy, like that could be that ceiling. And then John Morant, I kind of like the Allen Iverson comparison. I would also put like MVP Derrick Rose would be his peak.
I could see that.
Yeah, because he's the most Derrick Rose-like player that we've seen since Derrick Rose, I think. So,
I mean, he's hurt just as much, so.
True. But the athleticism is just like Derrick Rose, because Derrick Rose could dunk on people, and we've seen Ja pretty much jumping over people. So, I think that would be Ja Morant's peak, too. So what we're saying here... Oh, I didn't even say Luka. I think Luka's peak... I'd probably say Luka's peak is something like... Let's see. He put up 28, 9, and 9 last year. That's a really good question about Luka himself. I would probably put Luka somewhere like... I don't think he's LeBron level exactly yet. I can see Dennis ready to laugh because I already saw your text. Oh, God. Mike left a message for you, too, in the chat there.
What chat? Oh.
But anyway,
what's that? I don't understand what that means.
I was telling you to go on mute.
Why?
Because you had to go shit.
Oh, God.
I don't think mute is going to help that.
But, Luka, I would probably put somewhere up with, like... I'd probably put him up, like, where Kawhi was when he was, like, finals MVP and stuff like that. I'd probably put Luka up there, too. But maybe I think his peak could be a little bit higher than him. So somewhere between like Kawhi and between LeBron and Kawhi, in the middle there, between those two. That's where I have Luka. But that's it for us. Dennis has to shit.
So those peanut butter cups.
I'd probably shit my brains out after those.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Thanks for watching. See you, everybody. Sexy signing off. Have a great night, everybody.
That's it for us. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.